So nobody knows everything, and I certainly don't know everything. And some know more than most, or some know more than others. But we're going to get into some stuff where, hey, I don't know all of the things which are going on, and it's one of my promises to you as a teacher, that I will tell you when I don't know something 100%. And I'll sometimes like give an approximation to that. So you saw that in the last video. I was like, I'm pretty sure that the .a file is an archive file. I have like 97% certainty in that, right? Just a little bit of doubt, but that's my recollection. It's not really an important thing to day in and day out coding with Go. There's a lot of intricacies, a lot of depth, a lot of nuances to any language. And so I'll tell you what I know, and when I don't know something, I'll tell you that. So we're going to be looking at environment path variables. And before I talk about that, though, I think I just need to share. I was at a training. I was just getting hammered. It was like super intense. And like the teacher was really fierce. And like if you asked the teacher questions, he would like, it was just like, he would look at you like you were the biggest fool. And it didn't matter who was asking the question or how intelligent they were or how many decades they've been programming. But so I wrote a poem when I was there. And the poem was, the higher I go, the harder it becomes to admit I do not know. The more I admit I do not know, the higher I go. I really like that poem, but I was really feeling like I want to ask a question and I don't want to ask a question. I don't want to admit I don't know. So anyhow, all of that, I think that's important. Just from the humanism, the humanistic, me to you, no bullcrap, you know what you're getting. Shooting straight. Like I know a bunch of stuff. I don't know everything. I'll share with you what I do know. When I don't know something, I'll let you know. So anyhow, we're going to be talking about environment and path variables. And one of the first things we're going to do is we're going to go run another Go command, go env, and we're going to see a bunch of environment and path variables. And I definitely know that there are two that are super important, but there's a bunch other in there that I know nothing about. So, someday maybe I'll be like, oh, that's what that one does. I haven't gotten to that with the rest of them. So there's two that you absolutely have to configure, two environment path variables that you have to configure. But first of all, again, if you're new to programming, what exactly is an environment path variable? So your computer has path variables or environment variables. Sometimes they're called, it's like two on half a dozen the other, which is not the right way to say that phrase. I know I say that wrong. It's like I don't even know how the right way to say it. It's like six or a half dozen the other. That's the way you say it. But I just learned it wrong when I was a kid. I've always said it wrong. So, it's many different ways to two different ways. You could call it a path variable. You could call it an environment variable. Same thing. But what is it? What is it? So you set path variables or environment variables in your computer. I'm just waiting to see how much my dog's going to keep barking. Sorry, my dogs are barking. So you set environment or path variables in your computer, and let's just take a look at some of them. So if I bring up my shell, which is right over here, git shell, and I type in env, right? Whoa. Brought up a whole bunch of stuff. And so right here I have this thing path, right? So look at all this path stuff. I can't highlight it, unfortunately, because we're in Windows. And so all that path stuff, those are path variables. And so I could set more path variables there. And all it is, it's a variable that stores a path to some location on my computer. So a path variable is a variable that stores a path to some location on my computer. And when I need to run something, my computer will look down those path variables. It'll go down those paths and see if that location knows how to run this thing. So if I need to run some Java, right? Like I'll say to my computer, go run this Java thing. And then my computer will be like, okay. And it'll start looking down these path variables. It'll be like, it'll go down this first one, to Go code right here, right? And it'll be like, hey, knock, knock, knock. Do you know how to run this Java code? And Go will be like, no, man, I don't know how to run Java. I just do Go. And eventually it'll come to Oracle Java, Java path or whatever, and it'll be like, yeah, we know how to run Java, and then it'll run it. So you have to set path variables so that your computer can look down certain paths to do things when you tell it to do stuff. That's basically what a path variable is. So same deal in Go. we need to be able to set some path variables. And there's two ways to do that in, there's two variables we need to set, and you do it differently in Windows than you do in Mac. So I'll show you how to do it in Windows here in the next video, and then after that I'll show you how to do it in Mac. But the variables that we need to set are right here. So I'm going to teach you one more Go command. So here are our Go commands. If we just type in Go, we get our Go commands. And the Go command we're going to use this time is env. So you saw me enter env, and that gave me my environment variables, right, when I just entered that on its own. But if I enter Go env, it'll just give me my Go environment variables. And like I said, there's some environment variables that, I just haven't really looked into here. But the two that you absolutely have to have set for Go to work on your machine is you have to have your Go root set, and that has to be set to where you've installed Go. And so that's the default install location of Go on Windows. It's different on a Mac. And that gets set automatically when you install Go, right? So if you installed it to a different location, you might need to change that. I don't know, maybe it probably accommodated you anyhow. And then you also have to set the Go path variable right here to your workspace. So you have to set that to your workspace, right? And once you have set the Go path to your workspace, you will be able to run go get and go grab code, and it will then put it into your workspace because it knows where your workspace is. How awesome is that, right? So that's what you need to configure. You just need to make sure your Go root is going to where you've installed the Go program, and that your Go path is pointing towards your workspace. So in the next video, I'm going to show you how to set your Go path in Windows, and in the video after that, I'll show you how to do it in Mac.